This is something that the White House, the Biden campaign, cannot avoid. Even Democrats who like Joe Biden and plan to support him, they do have concerns about his age.
Joe Biden's like that grandpa that you love, that you believe in, you owe a lot, but you start to wonder, would you give this grandpa a high-stress job for 6 more years?
Yes, it's true. Democrats and the mainstream media beginning to catch up with the rest of the country. Poll after poll shows voters are unimpressed by President Biden's re-election run, fueled primarily by concerns about his age. Karl Rove is a former deputy White House chief of staff and a Fox News contributor. We have no concerns whatsoever about Karl's age. Karl, when you take a look at the polls, and there are multiple of them, 77% of people in an AP poll say Joe Biden's age is an issue. Wall Street Journal finds about the same, 73%, and the same in a recent CNN poll. So I think it's true that many Democrats and the mainstream media are just catching up with how Americans have been feeling for a while.
Yeah, let's take a look at that Wall Street Journal poll. They asked, do you think that he is mentally up for the job of being president? Only 36% said yes, 60% said no. They then asked, is he too old to be president? 73% said yes, he's too old, and only 22% said no. And the problem for Joe Biden is those numbers are likely to get worse. Who thinks that he's going to become less frail? Who thinks he's going to be able to be better at stringing together 2 sentences? Who thinks that he's going to look more, aggressive, strong, resilient next year as he approaches his 82nd birthday?
So, Karl, he's also not doing too well in the approval department either, hovering around the high 30s, low 40s, depending on which poll you look at. Supporters of Joe Biden say not to worry. 2012, that's about where Obama was, same time in his presidency, and he won re-election. But the difference is that Obama never had concerns about his age.
Absolutely. In fact, you bring up a really good point. Take a look at his approval ratings on important issues. Again, from the Wall Street Journal poll, securing the border, 30% approve, 63% disapprove. Inflation and rising costs, 34 approve, 63 disapprove. Growing the middle class, 36 approve, 58 disapprove. The economy generally, 37 approve, 59 disapprove, and China, 36-55. Now, all of these are important issues that are going to be part of the discussion next year, and his numbers in approval on these issues are below his ballot. So what that suggests to me is that he's being held up not by his persona, not by his record of achievement in the office, but instead by people's concerns and fears about having Donald Trump as president. So the only way that Barack Obama got reelected in a tough race was to go nuclear on Mitt Romney. I suspect that's the only way that Joe Biden can conceivably win re-election against Donald Trump if Trump wins the Republican nomination. And it suggests that if Trump is not the Republican nominee, then Biden is in deep trouble because the American people not only don't think he's up to the job, they don't approve of what he's doing on the major issues of our time.
I hope that our viewers at home took note that a good question on my part led perfectly into what you had planned to say. So, Karl, we'll note that for the future. One thing that Nikki Haley keeps saying is that she doesn't believe Joe Biden's going to make it through a second term. And she's warning voters that a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was asked if she was ready to take on the job. Here's how she answered that question. Listen here.
I'm answering your hypothetical. But Joe Biden's going to be fine. So that is not going to come to fruition. Every vice president understands that when they take the oath, that they must be very clear about the responsibility they may have to take over the job of being president. I am no different.
All right, the vice president taking the lead at the ASEAN conference there overseas, saying, look, everything's fine with Joe Biden. He's going to be just fine. But just in case he's not, I'm ready to take over. When Nikki Haley makes that case, what do independent voters think?
I don't think they're reassured. I mean, I certainly wasn't. I mean, think about it. Oh, Joe Biden's going to be fine. Well, really? Your word is good enough for us? And then Kamala Harris goes on to say, but if it isn't, I'm ready. This woman is less popular than Joe Biden. This woman is considered to be, not up to the job that she's got, let alone a job that has gotten a lot more responsibilities and a lot more challenges and pressure. So, no, this is, look, she's a weight, not a big weight, but she is a weight drawing down Joe Biden. His problems are primarily himself, but the vice president in this instance doesn't give people confidence that, that's another good reason why I ought to vote for Joe Biden, is because if something bad happens to him, we get Kamala Harris. She has been a disaster as vice president. What are the issues she's taking care of? The border she was assigned to, he's getting a 30% approval rating on that issue. Well done, Kamala. You've done a terrific job of giving the American people confidence that the administration is doing the right thing when it comes to the issue of illegal immigration.
All right. Karl Rove with the beautiful backdrop of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado behind him. Karl, hope you have a good weekend there. I don't know how you couldn't.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.